Welcome, Atlanta United family, to another episode of Resurge the Spike ATL, presented to you by FILA Sports Podcast. Here with James. Once again, Tommy. Tommy, how you doing?
Good. Does he ever change his clothes? I feel like he's got like the same hat, same
It's a
glasses.
different hat every week. What do you
Oh,
mean?
okay.
I like the white, I guess. Oh, well.
Well, I thought he was talking about me because I've been wearing the same hat.
See,
No,
look at
but
it.
guys, I mean, first of all, let me go ahead and put this up. If you have not subscribed yet to Fila Sports Podcast, subscribe on YouTube. We're on Facebook as well, Twitter. Go share our content out. Follow these guys as well. Kyle Don't Miss 26 and Let's Go Ducks 96. Um, Before we get started, I just want to, obviously give out this information, but I mean, man, going back to this weekend, for Atlanta United, I mean, it was a tough game, not just for the players, for the fans having to wait, 3 hours. It was tough. I mean, what do you guys think, of the game overall? I mean, go ahead. Either one of you can start, man.
All you,
You were
Tom.
there, so why don't you start?
All right, I'll start. Well, um, I don't even know what to say. It was crazy. I don't remember the game. Still barely. I remember the goals, of course, but you know,
You don't
it was,
remember because you were drinking, or you were so tired?
it was because I was there for like 5 hours in the stadium,
Yeah.
just the stadium, and the whole day was just fucking crazy. But yeah, the concourse went from packed right when it started, and it just kept emptying and emptying, and there was more red and black all around. And I was with the clip on Twitter that went viral of the people chanting in the concourse. I was there for a couple, and then they kicked them out, which was silly because we would have been at it for like 2 hours. But we come back out, and it was a electric start to say the least. But I mean, I feel like we're seeing more of the same, just sloppy turnovers coming into goals again with Rossetto on the first one. And we responded really well. Joe Willis, thankfully, basically got us a point in that game with that turnover earlier. And then, Almada is continuing doing magic, and then Dwyer gets another. So we got to talk about the striker situation soon. But it was a fairly even game looking at the stats. But, I mean, it was a whirlwind, to say the least. And we got stormed on when walking back. We were all drenched. It was a crazy night. So
I thought Brooks Lennon. I mean, that pass. I mean, that he had. I mean, that was just a one touch, and then immediately pass it, which is something we've been begging for. I was afraid he was going to try and shoot it because I don't think he had the angle with where the goaltender was that he was going to be able to get it in. So it was nice to see that. But yeah, I mean, when you're sitting in the locker room, I think they went back and showed on TV. They were just like goofing off in the locker room playing games, and I guess a couple of the national people were in like the hot tub or whatever. Like it looked like a bunch of guys that just randomly just came out and like didn't do too much stretching and just started playing because it was just sloppy early on. But I mean, it was it was good to see them continue to be able to come back late in the games. They didn't, and I mean, obviously we had to make the lineup change because Gutman got hurt, which we'll talk about here. But like, they keep pushing, and Almada just continues to just be our best player. We talked about last week. I'm not sure. I'm still not ready to pass him with the Almiron, best players ever on this team yet, but he's definitely getting there. And every week you're starting to see more in sync. But I will say before they tied there, I mean, we really controlled the play there for a decent amount of time. There was a couple counters, but there was about 15, 20 minutes where we had the ball and we just kept cycling it and like never really got an opportunity. Like I was shocked that all of a sudden that opportunity just happened because it was such an amazing pass, but they didn't really seem like they knew what they were trying to do to score that tying goal. At least like midway through the second half, they just kept cycling it back and forth. If it wasn't working, get it all the way back to the midfield, and still nothing was there. So they would just keep doing it over and over, and it was frustrating.
All right. So we had a special guest on here. I know we've been kind of anticipating, for her to be here. She's finally here though. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, James, Tommy, this is Kelly. I mean, I haven't personally met her. I mean, I haven't even personally met both of you guys either. But hey, we're here.
Hey, that's what this is all about, right? It's meeting people virtually, and then eventually meeting them and real functioning spaces like tailgates or games or things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to virtually meet all of you, and I hopefully will meet all of you actually in person at some point in time. Date to be determined.
Yeah. So I mean, we're just basically like getting into the first thing, our takeaways this past game against Nashville. It was a long night for the players and the fans as well, the ones who attended and the ones who actually stayed up and watched the game. So I mean, what your takeaways from that, like from the game, like what do you think? Like what
Well, I mean, you have almost 3 hours of delayed play, right? So that's incredibly hard as an athlete to be warmed up and ready to play a full 90 and then have to pause after 19 minutes of play to then be in a almost 3-hour stretch of delay. That's going to be taxing on anybody's body, no matter if you're a professional or not. I mean, that's hard. Unfortunately, we saw the cataclysm of that delay, I think, honestly, with Gutman's injury. We had a previous injury scare with Gutman with the shoulder. And I think we were all a little surprised when he came out and started the next game in the starting 11. And I think we were all very excited to see that he was able to recover in such a short amount of time, especially when he was day by day. But to have somebody like Gutman, who, in my opinion, I know that I jumped on like right at I think around 8:45, so I heard the tail end of what you were sort of just explaining with your takeaways from the match. But like Almada has been a solid rock for us, 100%. I don't necessarily want to compare Almada to Almiron because I don't think that's fair. They're two very distinct, different style players. I don't honestly think of Almiron as a typical 10. To be honest, I think he's more creative. I think he does thrive in better spaces out on the wing. But I think Gutman, in all honesty, to me has been the revelation for this season. I mean, I expected Almada to be incredibly brilliant, and we've seen that as he's gotten into the season. Gutman was somebody that we put on loan with the Red Bulls last year, and we didn't really get to see much of what his talent and the capability that he could produce out on the left wing. But what I've seen from him as far as the work ethic and then the ability to go the full 90, I feel like, honestly, with all of the injuries that we've experienced, as grave as they were, Gutman, honestly, to me, is like, you've had this log that's been able to hold the team for so long, and with Gutman's injury, I honestly don't know where we're at, because then that was, to me, the last straw. I mean, if we're talking about what we expect to see coming up, I mean, and I know we'll go into this, and I know we're just sort of going over revelations, but like Gutman's injury was, to me, this past game was massive. We can't lose him. He although he is not a captain, he 100% is a example of work ethic for the rest of the boys. And I don't know what that's going to trickle down into with the game this upcoming weekend, to see where we're at the last stray of it all. Us pulling out a point from this game feels like a win, right? We went down, and this feels like a repetition. It's Groundhog Day over and over again. We've gone down, we've gotten a point where we shouldn't have gotten a point, or whatever narrative you want to describe it as. But I don't know what to make of the season. I don't know what to make of the results, to be absolutely honest with you. And I know that people who are way more talented and well-versed than I am have sort of come up with the same prediction on this. It's like they have never seen a team that's been as injury-riddled as this team is. And anything that we are thinking that this team may be going forward or what results we may be getting is really just by happenstance, because each game is going to be dependent on who's available and who can play. And the team had a lot of grit coming out of the almost 3 hour stretch that they had down. I thought we were controlling the game extremely well within the first 19 minutes. We had a lot of great possession. We had a lot of character going forward. Nashville got the better of us as we came out of the locker room, and that's one team was going to take that, and I think Nashville did. As you will see when you watch the recap, when you start looking at the tail end after the next 45, right? Atlanta had a lot of spell of that possession, right? So they came out of the second break, right? They came out of that halftime really understanding what they needed to do. And I think that if we see the grit and determination that we've seen in a lot of these second halves, that we've seen in a lot of these like stoppage times with the team that we have available to us, I think that we'll be surprised with some results. We'll be okay with others, and we'll be understanding of it all because we understand the position that we're in. I think, and I've seen this tweeted, and I'm about to end my diatribe right now, but like I've seen this tweeted, and I think it's absolutely a statement to make, is that if Pineda is able to get us to a solid playoff position with the team he's been dealt right now with injuries, then that man deserves everything, because you cannot tax a coach who planned an entire season and then has been dealt the card that he's been dealt. Because may I remind you, he planned the beginning of the season, in the beginning on the forward attack, with the thought that Aruju would be starting and would be playing the first couple of games. And Aruju got injured within the first half, within the first game. So it started from the beginning. We're here. Like it started from the bottom. Now we're here. Still technically not necessarily the bottom, but we're still somewhere. And I think with the way that luck has dealt its cards for this team, I will take and sum up the national game as we fought, we made it somewhere, we got a point, we move on. That was really long, and I'm sorry. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
No, but going back to Gutman's injury, I mean, given the fact that the depth that we have on that left side is not, we don't have that depth anymore. I mean,
it's
why?
Mike Ambrose. That's it. Like that, and then Ronald Hernandez,
who's on international now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good point.
I mean,
is he gone for this week?
I don't. I think it's after. I think
it's after this week.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're off, so.
Yeah, Caleb Wiley. I don't know what where he's at either.
Nobody
Caleb
knows.
Wiley is also injured. Again, it's like everything we talked going into the season. We were like, oh my God, Atlanta United, the depth. Like, look at what they did with the roster. And this was like, it's so serendipitous, because we talked about like, holy crap, look how great this team is. Look at our depth. Like, we can go for days. And now we're needing to go for days because each player keeps being injured. And so we then literally need the depth that was created. It's kind of crazy how like it plays out, right?
Yeah, and it worries me because we're, the transfer window's 6 weeks away ish. And we've seen what this front office has done when their back's against the wall. They make silly things, and this is my Jurgen Damm comment of the night. So I'm only gonna make one. but we signed him to a 13-year contract and a permanent housing in the training ground, and I worry about what they're gonna do at the transfer window. Like, I guess you have to make a decision. I mean, any team when they have this many injuries, like, do you want to go for it all this year, or are you looking long term? And I think we might need a long term thing, but I think the plan was get rid of Miles Robinson at the end of the season, right? Sell him off. Well, Miles Robinson could be here for quite some time while he recovers, and we're not going to probably get what we were going to get prior to the injury. So he might stay, and I mean that's okay, but there's a lot of decisions now. Like, what are you going to do long term with everybody? And center back is our biggest weakness right now. And Emjan has done well, but I think we need someone a little bit more solid back there.
Yes and no. I actually honestly think Alex DeJean has been incredible as far as depth for us from on the back line. There are things that this particular game he was definitely struggling. I mean, out of all of the games that he's stepped in and played, Nashville was his worst. And if that's him at his worst, then I think that that's still doable. I think that there is a solid, obviously, battle for that back line right now between DeJean, Franco, and Campbell. And I think Campbell honestly wants that starting position right next to Franco. And I think that Franco should honestly also be worried about his position. There are certain positioning that he's had in previous games, which is questionable. So as long as there's still a fight for a position, I think that in the end result, we're going to see the best person for that position in that game. But that maybe midfield. That is the only two positions. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. That midfield and striker are the only positions that I see there being a real battle for. Striker is questionable, right? Because I actually put this question out to, and I'd like to get your opinions, honestly. All three of you guys' opinions on this matter. Like, Joseph will be starting whenever he's back to health. He'll be subbing on Pryor. Like, he'll be getting the minutes in. But as far as a starter striker for this team right now, Cisneros is incredibly fast. I understand that and the want to start him because of the legs, of the pace, of his ability to carry out, gameplay for 60 plus minutes, 70 plus minutes, etc. But finishing outside of one particular game in which he had a hat trick, which was against, honestly, also one of the worst teams in the league right now. Like, do we have a legitimate conversation about whether or not Dom Dwyer should be starting? Because the finishing for Dom is a little better. Legs might not be there. There's been a lot of talks about Dom's ability to handle frustrating situations and cards, and his ability to get on a field and rile a ref up or rile other players up. And I think that there is, whether or not we like to discuss this and whether Cisneros is better, Dom Dwyer is better, etc., I still think there should be a conversation about who should be the starting striker, because Cisneros makes great runs. He puts in the effort. I see it. But on a consistency basis, I just don't see it. What do you got? What are your takes on that particular position?
James,
I
go
don't
ahead,
think-
answer. Or,
Oh, go ahead, James.
Oh, I'm up? Okay. I rate Dwyer over Cisneros thus far. Cisneros, these past couple of games, Open Cup against Nashville, he missed a really big chance. I feel like he's not really clicking with Almada like I thought he really would. I just don't see it there. He's a great 80-minute sub for Joseph, but right now I think I have Dwyer, and it's tough because I just really want him back, and it should be, a couple more MLS games down the line, but Cisneros has frustrated me recently. And yeah, back to what you said about, we'll go way back to your monologue about the game, that you got to bang on. Those first 18 minutes, we were really starting to get a groove and control, and then thunderstorm, it's all out. And then Gutman too, he's also been one of my favorites this year, and dude, I have no clue about Caleb Wiley. Hopefully some reporter ask about him this week, because I have no clue. But right now you're going into this game with Ronald Hernandez at left back, which is a huge question mark. But right back, I have Dwyer. I hope Dwyer starts this week, and I don't know if Pineda's ready to start Dwyer, but I think he should on Saturday. That's my opinion, at least.
I think speed's just important to Pineda, and you've got some speed elsewhere, and what he does off the ball is important. And I think we talked about this before. This is like Pineda's one transfer that he specifically asked for, right? And I feel like he's not going to go away from it at the moment. And with Dom, you're not sure how many minutes you're going to get out of him. I mean, he did play a lot because he had to get subbed in the first game of the season, but I think that he sticks with his boy and continues to hopefully. I mean, we've learned this throughout the entire season. As these guys actually play together, more cohesion happens, and we've been seeing it most games. And yes, Cisneros, hasn't. I don't think he's scored since the hat trick game, but they're scoring, and I think that he could possibly, get on fire quick. But I mean, right now everybody's questionable at that position. And even Joseph, when he comes back, is going to be very questionable. And at the end of the season, you're going to have to make some hard choices here. And I've been saying it for a month now. I mean, you got a DP that hasn't been playing much, and we'll see what the ownership and franchise do, because I think you got to make a decision on Joseph on what he does here. And if it's not working, I mean, the fans are going to revolt. I'm going to revolt, but I know it's probably for the best. But if he can't play, you can't in MLS. You can't have a DP that doesn't play. Like, that is where teams get bad, right? And I don't want to say buyout, but like, it's eventually, if he's not going to play,
Hit him with the
and he's not
dom
going to
treatment.
play. I mean,
No goat slander, please.
no, he is the best, but I mean, injuries happen, and careers go downhill quick, and he's already had a cleanup. And I mean, I've been talking to my buddy who does physical therapy for UH out here in Ohio, and I mean, he's like, this is hard, and the explosiveness doesn't come back. It's very rare that it does. And I mean, we've already seen him not be explosive, but when Frank DeBoer, he kind of became more of a a playmaker as well, which I think is fantastic. But I mean, sometimes he's just not doing, when he's not doing that, or he's moving back too much, we have nobody forward. So I think eventually you got to make a decision here. I mean, he wants a contract extension. I mean, he said he wanted a contract extension last year, and he's still very early in that. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I hope that he comes back. I mean, I heard on Soccer Down Here, Parkhurst says that he talked to Joseph and he's feeling well. So, and he's feeling the best that he's felt in a while. So good news. Hopefully it sticks, but it makes me nervous.
So one position that we haven't even mentioned, goalkeeping, man. What's up with Bobby? What's up with him? Like, this man is like also questionable as well. I mean, he hasn't really impressed me yet again. I mean, he's not a Guzan caliber type of goalkeeper. I mean, even the fact that Guzan was already a veteran goalkeeper, but also another questionable, position. What do you do with him as well? Do you see what happens with Guzan? How quick he recovers? Do you like I mean, what is there to do with the goalkeeping position?
I thought he was good at the end of the second half there. Like, I thought he made some great saves. Like, honestly, before I was talking so much garbage about him in like previous games about how he wasn't moving. But he was fantastic in that second half. There were quite a few opportunities that Nashville could have scored there. And we would have been down, 3-1 at that point. But he made a couple nice saves. I was actually very impressed with him.
Yeah, but Tommy, to your point, goalkeepers are supposed to make saves. Like, that's inherently their job. So while I agree with you, and I think that Bobby is doing the best for the position that he is dealt, I still don't think he in this team, and I'm going to be rude, but also say this league, I just don't think he's a starting goalkeeper. And I'm going to jump back before we get into the goalkeeper conversation, but Joseph. So this has been an interesting conversation for a lot of different reasons. I think that the sample size that we've had from Joseph post knee surgery has not been large enough for us to give a conclusive determination on like where he's at with things. If you remember at the beginning of the season when he was playing, prior to when he left to get the cleanup, he was doing better than when he had originally started. So like, he was still getting better as far as his positioning on the ball, his play within play with other players, and then his ability to go back and forth, right? So he was still becoming and changing into a better striker version of what we needed for the team at the moment. So I still think that there should be a conversation about Joseph past him rejoining the team. I think it's a conversation that should still be had. I just don't think it's fair for us to judge his positioning within the team and the contract extension and all of that jazz until we have a large enough sample size after the injury. So that's sort of where I sit with that. Again, James is right. It's a GOAT. It's an Atlanta GOAT. So like you still have to give him GOAT ability to like prove himself. I still don't think we've seen enough prior to injury, or not prior to injury, post injury. Bobby, on the other hand, I get you have to build chemistry, and I get all of that stuff. I still don't think his reaction speeds are appropriate. I don't like the way that he plays with the ball at his feet. You have to sort of understand that goalkeepers are goalkeepers, and they're going to play that the way that they are comfortable with playing. I just don't feel like what Bobby is technically doing right now on the ball makes sense for this team. I threw one thing out, and I'm really hoping that the front office heard it and it sticks. But like Zach Steffen needs a place to hang out and play before the World Cup to get a shot at the starting World Cup position. So like down for Zach Steffen to be a starter here, because he's not going to get it for City. So like that's like, I do think that in this transfer window they should be going after goalkeeper 100%, because whether or not we like it, Goose is not going to stay after another year past this. So we need to get somebody else in place. And if Goose is the backup for a year, I'm fine with that. Goose is a solid person to be in the locker room, to be in the organization as far as the captain mentality. But like, I feel like for Goose right now, the injury that hit him is, although I don't like to say it's kind of like a career-ending injury for him. So that's where I sit with Goose and the goalkeeper position.
Yeah, I mean, Shuttleworth's best save was that Mukhtar free kick where he just hit it over. That was really impressive. But I mean, what Marlon's saying with RN, I like it, but I think we're gonna wait till the friendly to give him a shot. So, but I don't know if we're gonna go after a goalkeeper. I don't know what you guys think if we're gonna go after a goalkeeper this summer, but man, Shuttleworth's very frustrating. So, and that other chance, I think it was Sapong or Loba, one of them. They're both terrible, but he totally missed the goal, and I was like, oh, that's a for sure goal, and he just whiffed it wide, and we got saved there. But yeah, Bobby had a better second half. It's just not impressed so far this year.
He always gets caught out of place. Like I think he's somewhere else, and I mean it's definitely frustrating. But again, we go back to, is this going to be a long-term thing? Like Rocco Rios is probably a short-term thing again. Like they already knew what he was here for. He knows the organization. Cool, bring him in. Real emergency situation, we bring him in. But I think Guzan is done. And my friend, the therapist says he's probably done. Like a person his age, it's really hard to recover and have explosiveness jumping off of that. And it's, if you're bringing someone long term, if you find someone, you have the opportunity to be your next starting, goaltender for the next 3 years. Absolutely, I think that they make a move for it now, and you could always just put Rocco's back to the twos, which he should be getting play time. Like I'm hoping. I think there's still games for the twos during the international break, and I might be wrong there. But I think that
there still is, I believe, but also like we were making money off of Rocco Rios Nova because we loaned him out, so like that's a money making position for us. So I think that we should use it again. But I out of the positions that they are going to be targeting during the summer window, I think I would be a little disappointed if I did not see any movement. Whether or not we signed anybody, don't know. If there was no movement and or rumors about us getting a goalkeeper, then I'd be a little bit worried.
And you brought up the midfield, and I think that's a good point. But the other thing is the midfield's very crowded. Like Emerson Hyman's still coming back. You have Sosa that's coming back. I mean, from
Center
that
midfield,
was the one position. So those were the positions where I said we have depth and people are still fighting for a spot. There are other positions where nobody's fighting for spots because everybody's gone for injury. So like midfield, striker, and center back or defensive positions outside of the wingers, there are still people fighting for those spots, which is great, but our midfield is stacked. However, the problem here is that nobody, I think maybe outside of Josetu, has given you a solid play window where they are marking themselves as a starter. Like, we're still not even seeing Sosa start. And for me, Sosa last year was like end all be all. Like, I love that sweeper mentality in a midfielder, in the sense of like he's a more of a defensive midfielder, right? So like he's dropping back to be in line with the center backs as the attack moves forward. So like that type of a player I love. And Sosa, for me last year, was like, I was in love with that guy, the way that he played, the way that he saw the play develop in front of him and was able to anticipate what was going on. But like, we haven't even seen Sosa start and or get subbed on. So now we're sitting at this place of like, Sosa's not a part of the conversation. Ibarra is more of a part of the conversation. I think Ibarra has had hit and miss for me on games, in the sense of like, that Nashville game, he got really close to being sent off. Really close. And I like that aggression, because some players should have that aggression, but sometimes it also shows the maturity level with players. I just don't know. Like, our midfield is so hit and miss. It's also so incredibly crowded with players that it feels like we've centered our attention on our midfield in the stack and the depth, but we haven't looked at those other positions that may need it more.
And a lot of the players are similar in the midfield, right? Like, a lot of them move the ball forward, but you don't have that. Ozzy Alonso was that guy, right? Like, we only got to see a very short time, but like, he was a guy that you don't want to play against. You know, he was our new Jeff Lorenowitz, right? Like, nobody wanted to mess with Jeff.
100%.
And now we don't have that. Like, you don't go to Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's going to beat you by their skill, right? And, you know, the earlier teams, we had skill and we had bite, and we don't have a bite at all. And yes, I've always called Ibarra the little ball of hate, but like, he like you said, he got in trouble, and Rossetto like calmed him down and like pushed him away, but he got that yellow early, and then it made him, you know, completely useless after that, because he plays on the line and he didn't want to get a red, and that really ruined his game in Nashville. And I mean, that yellow was what I think made the difference, and why he was so terrible in there, because people were just flying by him, and usually he would, you know, check him down, and that he couldn't do it because he was afraid of getting that red.
So what are you guys you know, a lot of you guys are talking about Rossetto, man. I know he's been a big surprise, you know, given the fact that, you know, after Miles went down, he was given the captain's armband. I mean, he's really stepped it up. I mean, there's been times where, I mean, any player is gonna have, you know, those moments, you know, where, you know, they give a possession away. You know, luckily, you know, it wasn't a goal for Rossetto that last game, but I mean, he's really stepped up. I mean, I don't know what Pineda saw in him, you know, out of everybody else, you know, to give him the captain's armband. In my opinion, I mean, I probably would have, you know, had somebody like Gutman over, but yet again, we probably wouldn't have seen much of him, as we all know by now. But you know,
then it would have been the
Rossetto,
captain's curse. It would have been the captain's curse then, if we would have gave it to Gutman and then he got hurt.
Don't even say that, man. Don't even say that, man. Because last thing we need is Rossetto.
Josetu did get injured already, so let's also remember that Josetu was also out for a bit of time. So
now he's immune.
Exactly.
Wiley got hurt twice. Never mind.
Who hasn't got hurt? Who hasn't got hurt? That's the question.
I thought he was going to get the captain spot. Like, I really thought Brooks was going to be it. But then I heard Brooks talk like in a post game. He's like, I don't need it. Like, I'm a leader. You know, it
has a lot to do with because I've never met you guys in person. So how many of you play soccer on a pitch with other people?
I did. Like
former.
Retired. Former. Okay. So you guys understand, though, when you're on the field, like what a captain's presence is, right? So like the understanding that there's somebody in the field, whether they are vocal or not, that you sort of like look to, because they automatically draw that type of like mentality, right? So I feel like while Gutman's energy, Gutman's ability to like always be on and like hustle harder than I don't know if I can cuss on here. Hustle really hard. Okay, hustle like a motherfucker. Then like while you have players like that, which is the same for Brooks Lennon, honestly, they both wings with Gutman and Brooks Lennon, they hustle harder than a motherfucker. But they, in my opinion, they do not carry the same pose and like ability to carry a team. And it's not even the ability to like be on the field and command your other teammates to hear you. It's the ability to have the responsibility to know that you have to be in charge of your other teammates. If one of your teammates does something fucking stupid and is sitting there bitching at the referee, it is your responsibility as a player to go up and break that up and have a conversation with the referee, keep a level head, etc. There's a lot of responsibility that's put on the armband. So while I would agree with you guys, I did not necessarily think it was going to be Rossetto, but it still makes sense. Like Sosa would have made sense if he was a starter. I feel like Sosa has that presence in the sense that he will fuck a guy up, but he will also be responsible about it. I don't know if I would have gotten the presence from Gutman or Lennon while they are hard workers. I still would not have felt that they carried the presence to push the team forward. Alan Franco doesn't necessarily give me that feeling either. George Campbell, on the other hand, I have heard from both people who work for the front team and like just generally people who are around it, is that he commands a presence on the back line. So if this had been a different situation, it might have been Campbell, although I think he's too young for the responsibility. But then you get to the conversation, the fact that our team, on average, is one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest. I still think it's not Real Salt Lake, but San Jose. One of the youngest teams in MLS. Like on average, our players are, I think, 23 and a half. That is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like where is the youth? Where is the experience? Where is, the veteranship? Like the veteran players. So
they got hurt.
They all died.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. It's a wash.
Dinosaurs.
It's a wash, in my opinion, when we want to have this conversation about captain, because you're left with scraps at that point. So I think Rossetto's done a good job of it. I think Rossetto definitely has now earned the armband within the team that's available. But I think that the minute Joseph steps on that field, he's getting that armband back. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. So now going into fast forward into this weekend, we have a game coming up against Columbus Crew. I'll be there, hopefully. But
did you guys all buy your jerseys?
Nah.
The new purple ones?
The Chicago Fire looking jerseys?
Yeah.
Nobody bought one?
That looks like a Europe.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think I have to see it personally before I actually buy it.
This is the first one I haven't bought. I couldn't do it. I just wasn't a fan.
I have not bought the new away kit yet. I'm still growing on it. The city and the forest kit. I did immediately buy the purple one though. I will admit that. So I have purchased that one. I look forward to wearing it and people yelling at me, but I don't know. Outside of the team that reps that we all hate, I actually really love the color purple, so I'm here for it.
It doesn't look like purple. Like when you look at it on your phone, it looks blue and red. Like, and like I zoomed in on it. I looked at, like I went on to Adidas to look at different angles. I'm like, it looks like it's blue. Like I don't see the purple. But
we'll just say that it's blue. It's a really bluish purple shirt. Exactly, it's bluish purple.
Yeah. I thought it was Chicago Fire jersey when I first saw it. Like I didn't see the logo. I was like, oh, these are kind of cool. And then I was like, oh, this is for us? No.
All right. So, I mean, this game against Columbus, I mean, Columbus is, has been honestly a mess this season. I believe they're in 12th place. They've won 3 games this season, haven't won a single one in almost like a month. it's, I don't want to say it's a big game for them, but I mean, Columbus always seems to be that team that has a big game against Atlanta United at home. For some reason, I always remember Columbus because one, they eliminated us in PKs back in 2017. Last year, I remember when they came came to Atlanta as well. We lost 1-0 in the freaking corner as usual. I mean, it's always been Columbus. I don't know. So what can we expect against I don't want to say inferior Columbus because I mean with all the injuries and everything, I mean I don't know if we can even call any team inferior. So what are your takeaways?
This is Tommy's hometown team, so he can take us home.
Oh yeah, Tommy, go ahead.
I mean, I've been to every Columbus Atlanta game, including that Open Cup, which is exactly when this Nashville game. That's how it was in Columbus for that Open Cup. I mean, it was stopped for like an hour and 45 minutes, and there was like at that game there was probably legitimately like 200 people there. So by the time it came back
the field was worse though. The field was way worse.
Oh, Brandon Vasquez playground.
Oh, for that other game though, yeah, for the water field, yeah.
Was the Open Cup was not the rain delay? That was a different game.
So that was one of them, but the field where it was completely flooded, that was another one. So it's that old Crew Stadium. It was garbage. I hated that place. The bathroom's always flooded. The new place is beautiful. So if you have a chance, come down and check out the new stadiums in Ohio. They're fantastic. Zelarayan scares the hell out of me. He's the free kick master, and we are not the free kick defenders. So I am worried. He could change a game immediately at any time. So, and with us struggling, I mean, he's probably the difference maker for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna agree with that. I mean, you have Zelarayan, you have Artur, you have Nagbe, you've got Nkimbe, you've got. I mean, like we could go over their list of people. I mean, I haven't seen a lot from Yeboah or Barry. But I mean, you've got a solid defense that's in place. You've got Caleb Porter that is one of the better coaches in MLS and has proved himself time and time again within different teams to be able to adapt to each unique situation. So I feel like we can talk about how poor Columbus Crew is doing, but it's a challenge to our team, which is limited. And again, I don't know how many different starting 11s we've had since the beginning of the season, but like there is no cohesion with this team. There is no solidity in starters. There is no ability to look at the team and be like, this is what we were supposed to be or intended to be. And also there's the thing that just sits in the back of our head, the fact that Darlington Abbey is on the field and could have been in Atlanta, and we could have avoided so many needs for other players if we just kept Darlington. But regardless, I think that Columbus
shout out to Boca Negra. His birthday today, right?
Yes.
Happy birthday. So I think it's still going to be a challenge for us as a team. I still think we're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be what people expect it to be.
Individual mistakes. This whole season's been all about individual mistakes. You go back to Colorado, that was the Franco game where like every goal that was scored there was on Franco. You've had the Campbell game. Like you said, Dijon hasn't been terrible. I mean, he had that mistake on that second goal where he was just out of place. But again, it's usually an individual mistake that gets us. It's not a team play. It's individual play. And I think that's what they really got to focus on. And if you can have a game where you're not having these individual mistakes and then come back to bite you, our offense can lead us to wins. Like, I mean, we're scoring a ton of goals now. I mean, not a ton, but like we're getting better, right? Like it seems like it's getting better. But it's really just going to be, can we score? And at home, we should be scoring at home. So it's, I'm going to say we're going to win 2-1. That's my prediction.
I feel like this is very similar to New England a couple weeks ago, where it's two teams that are kind of, I guess, below fan expectations. It's a 7 p.m. on Saturday, so there better not be empty seats, but there will be. So, my mind says 2-2 because that's going to be the score, but my heart says 2-2. I'm going 2-2. I can't not go 2-2. I just want to get one right, so I'm going 2-2. But
I don't know, man. I don't really see either team. I don't know, man. I say a tie as well, but I say 1-1. I don't see the team.
Negativity. We need this.
No, it's not negativity, man. Like I hope, like in my heart, in my fan, like Atlanta United, like fan heart, like I want to win. I mean, but I don't know, man. It's just with everything that's going around right now, with everything that's going on with the team. I mean, it's hard, man. It's hard to, and that's actually like going into the next question. How high do we set the expectations for Atlanta United this season? I mean, like, what is the bar that we could say is, is there a failure bar? Is there a success? Like how do we measure Atlanta United season?
That's hard with what we've been dealt this season. I think that the highest bar we can set is getting into playoffs.
Ooh.
The goal is a playoff home game.
But let's repeat: how many people have had season-ending injuries this year, and then also who is currently injured? So again, I still think our highest bar at this moment is getting into playoffs. If we go higher than that, great. I think that is the bar to be measured.
I think there's 3 levels. I mean, 3 different times you can ask this question. You can ask it right now, ask it after the transfer window, like to see who we pick up, go from there. And the other ones, Joseph, like see how he recovers. Like if we get, I thought we had kind of a 70% Joseph last season, when he was, healthy. I mean, he had his moments, he had his goals, he had some real nice goals in there. But once he comes back better, I mean, we've seen when Joseph takes his team on his back, what he can do. I mean, he can definitely control it. And he's definitely got the best, since Almiron has left, he's got the best, offense around him. I mean, he's got so much young talent, fast talent too. So what can he do with it? We have no idea yet what he could do with an Almada. I mean, we've seen him with Moreno, and we've seen a little bit with Aruju, and it was good. But also last season, we were playing bad teams pretty much the entire end of the season. So when they did well, it was against bad teams. We didn't beat a playoff team last year, except Orlando. So, I mean, it's frustrating to see, but I mean, what can they do all together? And I think that's going to be important. My big takeaway the past couple of weeks is Aruju's looked good at the end of games. Last season, he was terrible at the second half. I don't think he scored a goal in the second half at all last season.
He still needs to score more. He's been off bar.
I think he's still recovering, in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't think he's recovered. Like in my opinion, I think he has recovered. He has lost a little bit of his ability to shoot on frame. It feels like. Go ahead.
And remember, this is the guy we said was our MVP pick this year. Like a bunch of people are like, this is his year to take over the league. And
I still think it is. Yeah. I think he needs to frame up a little bit more. I think as you can see in the Nashville game, he had some clear opportunities to really take it to the house, and I just don't think his precision and striking has been what we expected it to be. The hope is that it does, because I agree with you, and I agree with everybody else that thought that this was going to be Aruju's year to just mop the floor with people. And I still hope that it is, but I guess it also has to do with mentality. I just don't think that he's mentally sometimes up to snuff in some games. And I saw that honestly in Nashville. There was a lot of frustration, and it got the better of him.
I definitely see the improvement though, because we were talking about it last week about how he went 120 in the Open Cup, and he was just an engine. He kept going. So I see the improvement. It's there, but
he almost had 2 goals in extra time. I mean, their goalie just made good saves on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that to me though is breaking. He's just having a blast out there. I mean, he looks like he's playing, toying around with little kids. Is Almada, man. I mean, he's been good. something I was listening to. I don't remember if it was the post game conference that Pineda had. They were asking him about Almada, and he was just bringing up the point like, yeah, he's been good. I mean, he's been by far the best attacker or the best midfielder that Atlanta have had, but he still sees that he's got a higher roof. He's got a higher ceiling, a higher level that he could still get to. But Amada, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like Atlanta, honestly, that's they hit that 1 in a million with Almada. Given the fact everything with him, the whole case that he had going on or whatever, but. I mean, whatever they did, to make sure that, he wasn't involved in anything shady or anything like that, they did their job or, apparently. So, talent wise, I mean, we were saying it earlier. I mean, I personally don't like comparing players either, but Amada's a different talent, man. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Atlanta United is going to cash the bank with Almada, honestly, the minute that, a team comes calling for him.
And they might be calling for him this offseason. Like, he's made that comment, though, right? Like, he didn't really want to come to MLS. And I think there was a comment, like, before that if he did come to MLS, he only wanted to be here for a year. So that does worry me a little bit that, that it could be a one and done. I doubt it. I think that he stays for at least one more year. But you're right. Like, I think that all these teams, Manchester United, Man City, they were all looking at him, but they all avoided him because of everything that was going on with him personally. And they might come calling again. So, I mean, that's where you can really have a chance to make some money.
Yeah. I'm going to answer that question, expectation question real quick. And it kind of reminds me of a team, the Atlanta Braves from last year. I don't want to say it, but I mean, this summer window is the opportunity to get that Soler, that Rosario. And I mean, I don't know, we lose a big star like Acuna at the beginning of the season. I mean, my expectation, I'm Mr. Positive now, is top 4 home playoff game, but I'm going to back off. Not too much positivity before I change my score to 5-0 for this weekend. So.
I appreciate the positivity, Mr. Positive, but I will say if you're comparing it, you would have lost Acuna, you would have lost Swanson, you would have lost a whole lot more than just one player. But I get you. Yeah, transfer window is massive. It absolutely is massive. We've had a lot of turnover in the front office, and while I think, again, our depth was built this season to really flourish and show the strength of this team, and really it's been put into play because of other reasons outside of just rotation of squad and other things like that. It has been called into play for injury. I think that the hope is that, whatever is done in the off season is strategically smart and puts us in a better position to not only make playoffs but make a run in the playoffs. A lot of commentators, a lot of analysts have completely outright us for MLS Cup, which, looking at the team, makes a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense. I think, again, like you guys said, and like James said, it has a lot of play into how you play the window. I'm excited to see what happens. I also hold no expectation of it going well. And that's because I've seen other transfer windows on us that we've expected things close. So have I accepted our fate at this moment? Yeah, I kind of have. Have I still reserved some expectation and twinkle in my eye for other things? Yes, I have. Do I expect us to win this weekend? Yeah, I do. Is it a 2-2? No, I actually think it's a 3-1. And to that point, I do think that Araujo breaks free, honestly, because I feel like there's been a lot that's been holding him back, and I do feel like this is a game for Araujo to make a mark and to really sort of solidify that expectation we had at the beginning of the season. But the sky is the limit at this moment for what has happened with this team and with us to make the available transfers to make us better. I think that there's a lot in play. I will make one more comment and then I'll relieve my talking moments. But I think that there should be some conversation on us moving Hyndman and doing something with that salary cap, because while I think Hyndman is a great player, I honestly do think he's a great player. I don't think he facilitates what we need for Atlanta United, and we are not using him in a starting position, and his salary cap position is way too high for it to justify us having him on the books. So I will say that one thing I look to see in this transfer window is Hyndman being moved.
Shout out for the pay cut he took, though. I mean, I when the salaries came out, took that pay cut. I was kind of surprised, considering the rumors of what happened to his injury.
ACL, and then he's also not starting. So yeah, I mean, good on him, but it's still at the same point in time, it's why are we then keeping him?
It's crowded. It's crowded there, and you got a lot of guys that can move the ball forward. And Hyndman was doing that, and I mean, a couple of years ago, right before COVID, I think he had 2 goals in 2 games, and then the season shut down, and then we really haven't seen much from them. He was a Frank DeBoer guy, and we all love Frank. But yeah, I think it's probably time for at least someone's got to go. And whether it's this window or it's after the end of the season, we'll see. You might be able to get a little bit more money out of Hyndman if he can come back and show that he's got something. Just a thought there. But, I mean, Pineda said that he could start fighting for a starting spot soon, once he's ready to go. And that could be right after this international window. So I'm interested to see if he actually starts starting. And he really hasn't done too much. I think he did lead into that goal that Brooks scored at home. But, I mean, he hasn't really done much.
Yeah, but that was also from an Almeida, that ball was genius. It's genius. That's the sauce that you want from any player. But I don't know. I mean, that's like me being on the soccer field, passing a ball to Leo Messi, and then Leo Messi assisting someone else and being like, yeah, I was part of that. I should totally get credit, when it's just me passing a ball to freaking Leo Messi. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know.
I love him too much. I can't talk about this. I don't know. I've said it for 5 weeks now. I'm ready for Hyndman. Just wait till Hyndman takes over Rossetto in that spot, and he hasn't yet. So I'm still waiting.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not about to bench Rossetto. That's the thing.
And now
if anybody, Barra will be the guy. But I mean, even Harley. I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, but
I haven't seen it.
But you have a point there, though. You can't. So Rossetto is taking the spot of Hyndman right now, and Ibarra is that second midfielder that they're making that couple, right? But Hyndman's not going to take over Ibarra's spot, because Hyndman's not a bulldog in the midfield like Ibarra is. He's just not going to take that. So he's got to take up from Rossetto, but Rossetto is now a captain. He's now, honestly, Rossetto has been very consistent over the last couple games. I just don't see him taking that spot. And it's going to take a matter of sheer brilliance consistently from Hyndman to take that spot. And while, again, James, I think he's a great player, I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity in Atlanta. I just don't.
Yeah,
Best nose on the team. 100%.
I've been waiting for the Sosa Hyndman midfield all season, and I still haven't got it yet. Those are my 2 guys, and just
that's the most awkward pairing. But yet again, I doubt we're ever gonna see it.
I know, but those are my guys, so I can't.
It's okay. It's okay. Teardrop.
Legit.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, right, I just want to say, as I started getting into soccer and Atlanta United, right before they won the year they won the championships, when I was getting into the team, you were podcasting like crazy, and I think I was listening to you nonstop. So you've taught me so much, and got me into the team. Me and you DM back and forth. You told me where to go for my first tailgate and everything like that. So I appreciate everything that you've done, and I like your podcast. And your first podcast, you talked about the environment and maybe how it's changed a little bit. Well, I don't know if you heard, but there was a lot of trash talking during the New England game about what the environment was like at home, and it was just quiet. They constantly talked about it was quiet. So I want to get your opinion on what the home game atmosphere has been lately, and if they should be talking as much trash about the atmosphere that it is
It's
now.
Nashville, man. It's Nashville fans honestly talking trash about. Nobody else brings up that point but Nashville fans.
No, when it was on, I think it was the Revolution game. I mean, they
No,
were,
no, no. Yeah, Taylor Twellman was on there talking
Yeah.
trash on freaking ESPN, talking about it's the quietest I ever heard the Mercedes Benz.
I hate to be that person, but he's right.
Agree.
I mean, there is legitimately. I've talked about it, and I said it on the first. Thank you, honestly, Tommy, for saying what you said. I appreciate the comments, and it's crazy to think that I've been doing this for as long as I have, but yeah, it has been. So I've been a supporter since day one. So 2017, first game, Bobby Dodd, like ever since, right? So I've been with the SS for years. It was, and honestly, there's a clear distinction, line in the sand, of when it turned. And to be frank, it's Frank, and it's also COVID.
Yep.
There's just absolutely nothing you can do coming out of that type of a pandemic situation, where there are a lot of people who are in supporter groups who don't feel comfortable with coming to games. And then you're dealing with a lot of new people getting tickets into the supporter section who don't know the chants, who are there because it's a cheap ticket. Like it's literally the cheapest ticket in the stadium to sit in the supporter section. It's general admission, so they sit wherever they want. And they don't know the chants. They don't know the songs. They don't understand what the point of sitting in that section is. So a lot of what's happened to us, it's a catch-22, right? So we were labeled the best supporters group in MLS, right? They compared us to LAFC. It's not comparable. It's not a large enough group. LAFC's section is smaller than ours. It's contained in a way that it looks like it's similar. It's not. Our section's larger. It's a larger stadium. We hold more people, etc. We shot out of a cannon very fast, and the cannon was beautiful. It was an incredible experience. Like, it was a wonderful moment while coming out of the cannon. And then we reached a maximum velocity, and then we started to slow down. And the slowdown was Frank de Boer and the change of the way and the philosophy of like who this team was. The hire Frank de Boer still, in my mind, is so confusing, because you went from fast-paced, entertaining soccer to rigid, very slow, well-defended, not denying the fact that he put us in great positions to win championships, which we did. Not denying that, but like the philosophy of the team completely changed. And when you change the philosophy of a team, you change the atmosphere, you change the environment of what you're coming day in and day out. You're making tifos for, you're painting them, you're going to warehouses, you're learning chants, you're doing drum lines, like doing all of this stuff. When you change the environment of the team and the philosophy of the community with a hire like that, it throws people off. And there are other things at play, like the actual politics of supporter groups, which would be a whole other podcast we do not need to get into. But it's inherently going to change over time. And it just ended up being this crucial climax point where it's the change of a coach, change of the philosophy. It enters into a pandemic where not only we had the MLS is back tournament, and oh my God, I don't like, that is like a black spot in my mind. I can't even remember what happened during that tournament.
Zero goals.
The Mickey Mouse trophy.
Didn't count.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what you guys talking about.
It's an event that never happened, but like it's still that. And then we went into, oh my God, I'm like literally forgetting what the name of that coach is. That's so bad.
Heinze.
Hindsight. Oh my God.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
But
I'll
like
drink
this,
water
this
to
is
that.
yeah, this is yeah, cheers. Seltzer. But this is sort of like when they talk about like the SS being quiet and like the supporter section being quiet, they're neglecting everything that's led up to this situation, and it's just being like oh, Atlanta's always been amazing and they now hate their team. That's not the case of it. Like Taylor Twellman can spout all he wants and I'll defend it, and like other people will defend it, people who are in the SS day in and day out, but like you can't expect, put it this way, you can't date someone, right? And in the first 2 years of your relationship with them, they cook you dinner every night. And then something happens, they get pissed, or something changes, and it's dinner every night except for the third night of the week. And then you're pissed because it's not every night. Like, people change, life changes, like you adapt to your situation. Do I think our SS can be better and should be better? Yes. Do I think it will be better when this team is not injury riddled, winning games in a exciting, entertaining manner, and or and this is a whole other conversation, the marketing and the understanding of the community from the front office is better? Yeah, I do. I think that also another thing, I'm going on a whole diatribe right now, I'm very sorry, but like I also think that the minute Skate left, and do you guys know who Skate is with the front office?
I don't know.
Okay, so Skate was the original like communities / marketing manager for Atlanta United, and she was that person through 2019, and then she left for Adidas. She got a great job offer from Adidas, works for Adidas now. Incredibly smart woman, but she was the person who was the pinpoint and the heartbeat between our supporter groups and the front office. They communicated well together. They understood what the meaning of Atlanta United was to the city and to the fans. And when she left, that was severed, right? So the person who took her position, although he is a wonderful person, he does not blend those two areas together. So there's a huge disconnect to what the fans feel and how they are reacting and how they are experiencing games now to the way that the front office communicates with them. And I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but I'm sure that you guys have felt that like it does not feel like the front office is with us anymore. It feels like we're being fed stuff that we're told to accept. And that's not the way a community should react.
It's felt like that, definitely. I mean, after all the things that have come out, specifically out of Felipe's articles, given the fact that all those things that came out, with Bocanegra, just being a dick, honestly, to be with the players, not having a good relationship with Tata as well, while he was here. So yeah, I mean, I definitely understand your point, and I mean that's something that I didn't know. I mean, with the fact that that one person that you're talking about, basically being that engaging point between both parties, definitely. I mean, Tommy, go ahead, man.
Well, I was gonna say, like, it didn't hit me when Heinze came in that like you had all these great videos, right? You had Almiron and them playing games, playing pranks on each other. Like it was so much fun. You saw so much stuff on the field. Like social media, like made you like love the players, right? Like, I mean, Julian Gressel,
the Thanksgiving video of like them eating sweet potato, like
yeah, like you had that, and it hit me when like someone talked about, like someone said it on Twitter, like we haven't seen like a single video of like practice or anything. Like we haven't seen a video of absolutely anything. And then when Heinze leaves and you hear Darren Eales talking about it and like how Heinze wasn't friendly with the media. And I think that they had to know that that's what they were getting into. Like, I don't care that it's COVID. Like, I mean, you had other podcasts that knew about Heinze from his previous teams, that he was that way, that he didn't get along with the media, that this was going to happen. Like Atlanta media is not special. That's going to bring this guy out to be a happy guy. And now you're seeing that change. And like, I'm hoping, and I think that's with Frank DeBoer, and what they were trying for at least was like a guy that would help the academy get better, right? Because they said he was good at building up his academy. And we're looking for a long-term guy here, right? And like we always had these 2-year plans. You know, the Frank DeBoer, it was hopefully be long-term, but it was like 2 years. And then the Heinze, it was a 2-year contract, right? With, you know, and there was already talks that, you know, even despite him not doing very well, the other teams were looking at him. Like, we didn't really expect Heinze to be here long-term. They're expecting Pineda to be here long-term. It seems like he's created a good environment overall. And I mean, they had the supporters groups come to practice a couple times last year, despite COVID, right? Like, I mean, that seemed like it was a help, like a little bit of a push there. But I think that they're definitely looking long-term, which is good. It's just, again, it's the struggles. And, you know, I've stuck up for Boca at points because he has brought in some good players, you know, but his decision making, and again, we just with the Felipe articles, and like again the Jurgen Damm thing, like I just don't understand like how you give someone that long of a term of a contract. Like when we find out later, like it doesn't make sense on what he's doing. So I do get worried when he got the contract extension. I seriously think he's got that contract extension because he was basically the one that his friendships brought Araujo in. Like he was the reason Araujo came in. And I think that got him his extension just on that alone. And that's just my opinion. But like I am worrisome about this transfer window, that this could mess us up years down the line if we're trying to panic here and make some bad moves.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be surprising, man. It would not be surprising if we really like screw this up bad.
But we never screwed up before. Like early on, like we brought Remedi in. I mean, it was the perfect move. Like,
hold on. You literally just mentioned Jurgen Damm.
Well, no, I'm saying, but so like right before we won the championship, like we made the right moves. Like Remedi came in. It was an immediate, like just.
We also had a different technical director at that time.
True. And
very different front office. So I hear what you're saying, but the minute, and I can see his face at Paul McDonough. The minute Paul McDonough left and Bocanegra became the technical director, things started changing as far as choices of player, and that's where the complication has happened. Do I think Bocanegra has learned more as a technical director over time? Yes, I do. Sorry if you hear noises. It's my dog lapping water. But like, I think that there are wins that can be had with Bocanegra being technical director because he does have a lot of connections in the soccer space. Any technical director should, right, for any club that he works for. I would be interested to see, because I do think in this past offseason, we have done a lot to build the depth of the squad. And that's something I'm very proud of. We're clearly seeing it now with the amount of injuries. We're seeing the amount of work that's been put in to build the depth. Great. The point now is to your it's very poignant, right? This transfer window is make or break for us. It's make or break in the sense of like who we get in to fill in the injury riddled team that we have right now, but also what are the smart strategic moves that we're making to get people in? Is it to get them in just for a short term? Is it to get them in for a long term? Do we see them coming in, playing, and then moving somebody else out to slot in positions? Like, you're absolutely right, Tommy. This window is probably been the most crucial window that we've ever used in our history with MLS, the short history that it is. So it will be interesting and very fascinating to see that the moves that they make. But my worry is that we have seen windows in which we needed to make moves and we still have not made moves. So that's my biggest worry, is that we're going to go into this window and not make the appropriate moves that are needed. And then at that point in time, I'll have questions and I'll raise comments and tweets will happen. And I'm sure so many other tweets will happen that will say certain things that include the word out on it. But like, front office has to be delicate in this window. And I think that they're going to be delicate. I think that they understand how crucial it is. It's my hope, at least, that they do. But I also think they've started making the right moves as far as when you look at the actual, not necessarily front office of the way that they pick the team and how the team manages, but who actually also runs a lot of what the team is influenced by. So like creative director, graphic design. Like Atlanta United has started pinpointing particular people within the fan base that have credible resumes. I know that, I don't know if you guys have started seeing some of that, but a lot of my friends that I've talked with since the beginning of this team have been hired by Atlanta United to be technical directors, graphic directors, things like that. I think they understand the gaps where they have with the community. And I think that we're going to start seeing those plays back into the tie that we had from the beginning. But again, Tommy, to your point, this window is absolutely crucial.
What if they do nothing? I mean, they have to do something, obviously, but like, I guess.
What if they do nothing? You mean what they've done sometimes previously?
Yeah, but like, I'd rather them not do anything and just have this be a failed season and not make the Jurgen Damm mistake. Okay.
Come
I said
on,
it was going to say his
Tommy.
name once, but I said 5.
Tommy time.
I would rather them attempt to do something brilliant and then it end up being Jurgen Damm, or we could have the off chance, which is like Jurgen Damm. To be absolutely honest with you, Jurgen Damm was like a 70% chance, 30% possibility, right? So they took the chance on that. They gambled. I think that they're going to be smarter with how they gamble this offseason because of the lessons they've learned from Dom. If they make another mistake, then again, I think the questions are in place. But I would rather them do something than do nothing, because then them doing nothing is blatant, right? It was their choice to be like, no, we're good. That is bad ownership. I would rather them gamble and take the risk on a player because they hope that the upside of that player would be beneficial to the franchise than them just sitting there saying, we're not going to do anything because we're scared to take the risk on a player. I mean, because you said it prior. Almada was a risk. It was a risk. He came in with prior circumstances that were a little bit shady. Again, a lot of the paperwork came out that Atlanta did their due diligence with that. They looked into police reports. They looked into court reports, et cetera, with that. They did their due diligence to make sure that this player was clean and could come in, et cetera. So I would rather them put forth the effort and take the risk on a player with the hope that the upside would be worth it. If they sit there and do nothing, then they should not be running a football team. Period.
And let me take that back. I'm sorry. I mean, like, term on a player. Like, you bring a player in and you sign him to a long term. And, if it's something short, a short contract to bring someone in, cool. But I just don't want to get tied up to some players that might not match it just because it is that emergency situation.
I mean, we kind of saw that with Moreno, man. After Peter Martinez left, I mean, we were left with no
Nothing.
real attacking midfielder, and we had to bring in Moreno last minute. I mean, we brought him in, one day, and the next day he was starting in the game. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to try to gamble with something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's
and
just
it depends on who you ask on whether or not that was a good move. So, there's a lot of questions.
Ask Doug.
Exactly. But again, so I think that there is going to be the plus and there's going to be the black and white on each player. But I hear what you're saying in the short term. I think that player negotiations and player salaries have not necessarily been the best that this team could fight for. I would like to see that improve over time, but I don't know how that's done. I clearly have no history of running a front office, making player negotiations or salaries. So I can't tell you the first thing of how that's ran, but I would agree that some of the deals that players, agents have won for their client is beyond reproach.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know if you guys specifically have any other comments or questions. I mean, Tommy, I know obviously you asked Kelly the question that about the supporter sections and all that. James, I don't know if you have any questions, Kelly as well.
Real quick, I remember they did the scavenger hunt at halftime last game on Saturday. I'm winning. I'll be there. They did that signed photo thing. I was so close to getting it. I'm getting it this week, no matter what.
Hey, good for you. I have no idea what you're referring to, but I support you.
You put a Twitter thing last week. I'm winning it. So
Yeah,
you see my
halftime.
picture on Twitter. There you go.
Halftime, I'm at a bar, so like.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm out.
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right.
halftime, I literally just sit there in the group chat, just being like, "Oh, we suck." So I mean, might as well. Just...
Yeah, literally, like, no, that's all we do. Like, sit through the game and just freaking talk trash. Honestly, mirror ball group gang.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Tommy, Kelly, James, thank you for your being here. I know, it's kind of a hassle, trying to get the schedule, and I kind of forgot, we had some things going, beforehand, but it's all good.
We got it
It's all-
done. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, thank you guys for your time. Hopefully, we have you here again, Kelly, as well. Yeah. I don't know what else to add, guys. So.
It's been
It
a
was a
long
great
week.
conversation. Yeah, it was.
I
Great.
haven't recovered from Saturday night. Like that was.
Did you go?
You can't drink. You can't. I'm sorry.
That
you
sounded
go
like
to
fun. I'm saying.
Oh no.
No,
Oh,
only
okay.
James went. I mean, I'm not even in Atlanta. I mean, I'm like 4.5 hours away. So, I mean, I'm making the trip down
Still,
to.
I mean, if you ask some people, that's still Atlanta. That's what they say, at least.
I heard Ohio's Atlanta. I mean, I've read that.
Ohio is everywhere, honestly.
No, those rain delays. You just don't realize how much you drink, and then you find you have 16 of these around you, and you're like, oh yeah. This is a long night. I didn't make
Then
it
you
Twitter
missed your
Spaces. I passed out,
Yep.
so I couldn't even do it.
Funny enough, so I'm in the middle of purchasing a home. So the rain delay was actually really good for me because I was in the middle of doing a lot of documents at that night and signing a lot of stuff and like reading paperwork. So it worked out for me that we had the rain delay, but I could see how it would not be beneficial for those who needed to find something to do as far as conception.
Or if you're in the stadium as well.
Yeah, that too.
All right, guys. Well, to everybody else, I mean, hold on. Let me put this up here real quick. Hold up. Never mind,
Did
guys.
Zill show up?
No, man. I think the whole everybody was watching the U.S. Open Cup matches. Speaking of that, man,
Gonna be
I
Nashville.
wonder if Nashville lost.
Nope.
No, really?
No, they won. They won. No, they won. It was tied.
Next round, Nashville, Atlanta.
You got way too happy, really.
Yeah, I was about to go
Charlotte
talking
lost.
mad trash on Twitter right now. Like you
Charlotte
really were
lost.
just like we were talking so much trash about like eliminating us in the round of 32 just to like freaking lose against Louisville. Come on now, but never mind. I'm gonna keep quiet. All right, guys. All right, hold on. Let me end this thing.
End it.